64.82. It's time to go to the ones as we look ahead to week 4. But this is looking back at week 3. Who were the top performers? There are a lot of guys that were on that perfect lineup, including the Packers defense and special teams that put up 21 points. But we are pushing it forward and talking about the QB1 first up in week 4. Marcus Grant, who do you think it will be?
All right, going a little bit off menu here. Geno Smith, Eugene Cyril Smith. Yeah, look, I know it doesn't seem like a thing that you would think about, but look, Geno's playing really well so far this season. We haven't really talked as much about it as some of the other quarterbacks there, but the Seahawks throwing it a lot, averaging 34 pass attempts per game. Geno with a league-high 77 completions. And look, they sort of took their foot off the gas last week against Miami. They didn't have to score a lot of points because the Dolphins' offense really was never threatening at any point. That's not going to be the case this week going against the Detroit Lions. This should be more of a high-scoring game, and I think Geno's going to have to sling the ball around a lot for the Seahawks to be successful.
All right, I got to the homework first, so I got to go super
Yes, you
chalky with, I know, I usually leave those. But listen, Kyler Murray is going up against the Commanders, and that's one of the things that we're overlooking with how well Jaden Daniels was playing on Monday night. Was a reason he got to continue to go out there and throw the football deep into the game is that similarly, the Commanders defense does not play very well. So I anticipate both these quarterbacks, Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels, putting up a plethora of points this week.
All right, let's go to running backs, and I'll take as the RB1 a Steelers running back. Saying it that way because Najee Harris was in a sling after the Chargers game. We'll hopefully get an update from Tom Pelissero coming up later on in this show. But the Colts are on the other side this week. They've allowed the most rushing yards to running backs this season. Najee had the most receptions on the team last week. Cordero Patterson is the team leader in yards per carry. We know Arthur Smith will, if given the opportunity, give the ball to Cordero Patterson. I am confident in just the entire backfield going up against Indy this week.
Yeah, I'm also confident in Brian Robinson Jr. And I will say that I don't say whiff on this. I think I drafted more Austin Eckler than Brian Robinson Jr., but he's been very good for Washington so far this season. First couple weeks played nearly 60% of the snaps. Now we'll keep an eye on Eckler. Left the game last night with a concussion, so we'll see how he progresses through the protocol during the week. But Arizona is a defense that teams have run on so far the first 3 weeks of the season. Robinson getting a ton of those opportunities, even catching the ball a little bit this year. So I like his opportunity this week against the Cardinals.
At the wide receiver position, I'm going to go with DK Metcalf as the wide receiver 1 because of that matchup with the Detroit Lions, who've allowed the second most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. And over the previous couple of weeks, it felt like folks had turned on DK Metcalf. Like they were not a believer. I'd heard some derogatory things about him. And then all of a sudden, he comes out with back-to-back weeks with over 100 receiving yards. He kind of quiets the haters. And now that we're all back on board with him, like in a plus matchup against the Lions, the bottom will fall out of it. No, I'm just kidding. I really have a lot of faith that he's going to get it done this week.
There's similar community itchiness right now, Rank, about the guy I have going as wide receiver 1 in week 4. That's CeeDee Lamb after they had some frustrating moments against the Baltimore Ravens. The last time he faced off against the Giants defense, he had 39.5 points. Dak Prescott's throwing the ball more than any quarterback in the league because the team doesn't really want to run the ball, and even if they did want to, they're having some difficulty doing so. Sure. So I've got a chalky pick in CeeDee Lamb as the wide receiver 1. But folks,
you know how they knew they didn't want to run the football? They signed Ezekiel Elliott. That was sign number 1. We don't care about running the ball.
It's not a fake. They're like, here, this is what our plan is this season. So yeah, a Cowboys pass catcher.